particularly mention two things from those speeches. One is regarding Professor Fernando's description of those who are involved with the FUTA struggle over many, many years. I want to say that there were many women involved whose names are countless and were not mentioned, but needs to be mentioned because they were a very important and powerful force that played a role, albeit often behind the scenes, but they are important and they need to be acknowledged and appreciated. Secondly, I wanted to say to Professor Parakrama, I think that it is true that we need to be a trade union that understands the nature, connects what we do to broader issues. But I think there is a place for FUTA to also be a traditional trade union. We are, we have that role as well, and I think in that tension between being a traditional trade union and our connecting our trade union activism to broader issues, that tension is what can create a dialogue that needs to happen for us to get out of these crises. So, what I want to talk about today is about these crises. I think we all know there are multiple crises in the education sector right now. And it's important to talk about it not because, well, we are university teachers and therefore it is important to us. But it is not the problem of university teachers. This is a struggle for Sri Lanka, for our imagination, and for our hope for what is beautiful and what is kind about this country. I don't think we have lost all hope in who we are, or what we can be. And for us to keep that hope and continue to appreciate what we have, I think we have to start this struggle, continue to struggle, because that's a reflection of that hope. And as university teachers, I think it's particularly important because we are teachers. We are all about the future. And if we don't have hope for the future, our job is nothing. A very close friend of mine told me, she teaches doctors, and she told me that sometimes she is saddened because she has to go to teach these students, that she is not sure where these students are going to end up. Will they be serving our state health system or some health system in some rich, powerful country which extracts more and more resources from us? She says she has lost some of that hope, and that hope is affecting her teaching. But for us as university teachers, if we don't have that hope, I think we don't have our work, our vocation, what we stand for. So right now, the university system is in crisis. What do I mean by crisis? I'm no one talking to people who know this, but I'll say it anyway. We have ragging and violence in the university, but no solution for it. Its solutions are not about pointing fingers and finding the most atrocious ragging that's going on. It's finding the structural violence, the misogyny in it, how we are all involved in this problem, and having an honest conversation with it with the support of the political and the institutional and all parties that make up this country. We have a problem, as many have mentioned. We are operating in a staff with a shortage of staff. We are operating with two-thirds the capacity or less of staff, academic staff. We have a lack of resources. With increasing class sizes, our faculty is trying to figure out how we can provide lab experiences for our students, because our students are right now doing something like a demonstration than an actual lab class because there is no space for them. We have to spend so much time explaining to people and showing that we are working, we don't have time for work. They call it quality assurance, and we spend time and showing the publications we do, the teaching we do, this. We don't have time to think, right? And our students have so much trauma. They come with us, they tell us about their families who are in debt, families who don't have sources of income. They have mental illness, there's no support in the health system, they have need money for their parents who have cancer, who are having strokes, and they come and tell us these stories. Students who, as was already mentioned, who are inadequately prepared for university. And we don't have the support to support them. If they come to university and are expected to do a course in English and they don't have knowledge in English, it is our responsibility to support them. But we don't have the kinds of resources they need. The lack of an economy to absorb our graduates. We don't have jobs for them. And finally, we have to deal with the widening disparities of wealth and well-being in the groups in who we have in our country. And with all these problems, we have one policy document that has come from the Parliament. This is the policy document from 2023 from the committee focused on expanding higher education. What do they say? What are their solutions to the expansion of education? It is to expand private higher education, provide subsidies and concessions to private organizations, provide financing. This is very important. Provide financing that is student-centric. That means our universities are not going to give specific block grants. No, the students go and put their money, they can put it wherever they want. If we are lucky, we'll get that money. If we are unlucky, we don't. That's the kind of, imagine the insecurity in such a system. Fine, and then financing of state education through self-financing. These are the solutions they have given us for all these problems we are having in the state education system. We have to understand, but these problems are in their making. For instance, if you look at our GDP allocations for the higher education system, in recurrent expenditure, it's 0.08% and it's declining into 2022. The capital expenditure is 0.24% and it's declining in 2022. The trend is declining. The whole of our education system has, of our GDP, it's 1.5%, and in 2023 it's likely to decrease. This is one of the smallest in the region. It's one of the smallest in our income bracket. It's one of the smallest when you look at full higher education as well as higher education. The problem is so bad that today, well, not today, in 2022, when we have the statistics for it, our expenditure has declined by 2019 values to 70%. Our enrollment by 2019 values has increased to by 25, over 25%. Actually, from 2018, the value is 50%. Our per student expenditure by 2019 values is 50% of what it was in 2019. That's how we're carrying this system. And their solution is earned income. Now, this solution may work for school universities like Colombo. Colombo got 20%, over 20% of its financing in 2022 from earned income. Guess how much it was for Ubervellas? 1.3%. For Jaffna, 1.8%. What is that going to do to our education system? We are going to have huge disparities. Maybe it might work for universities in Colombo, but not for others. Even Peradeniya got 10% only. So this is what the solution is. Where is that money going to come from? It's not practically possible. The system is already in life support. Now let's think about fee-levying education, right? I'm drawing from Farah Hanifa's last Kupi article, which is very good. You should read it. It talks about the UK experiment with fee levying education. In 1998, they introduced the nominal fee to the system. Today, it is one of the highest fees that students pay for their education. This they did in spite of student protests saying, don't do this. And they were right. They were right. They shouldn't have done it. And now the architects of that system are saying we did it wrong, because instead they had a student loan system. The loan system meant that people left the university burdened by loans that they had to pay for 30 years. Recently, they extended it to 40 years because they can't pay it in 30 years. Right? They're leaving university, and in Sri Lanka, it's not going to be the parents, the students who pay. It's going to be the parents. They are going to sell their land, they are going to sell their property. That's who's going to pay for this in Sri Lanka, because that's the kind of country we are. And we have to remember that this is happening when we know that their debt, they have, the country has used their funds, their retirement funds, to pay off their debt. So they are going to even have less money to deal with that. And let me talk about UN statistics about Sri Lanka, right? Today, 17% of our children miss most or all attendance in a given week because of financial issues. 38% reported increases in expenditure in education since the financial crisis. It is in this context that families report a reduction in income, where they are selling their belongings 15%, pawning 60%, borrowing 52%. And this is the people they want to put that burden to. I have run out of time, but I have a lot more to say, but let me just say something more. Now they want to have private institutions doing this thing, taking over the job of universities. I just want to say, give an example. A, a state university engineering degree is 700,000 rupees. The same electrical and electronic education degree at NSBM is 3.2 million rupees. At SLIT, it's 3.1 million rupees. At KDU, it's 2.1 million. These are from their respective websites. Who is going to pay this difference? Is it going to be the state, as they say they're going to do? No, they are not going to be able to do that for very long, because we know the UK situation, right? Is it going to be these people who can afford not even the food they are eating on a daily basis? No. So who is going to be left out from this policy? Everybody. So we talked about. Okay, I'm going to stop there, but there's a lot of information here. If you want to know about it, please come and talk to me. I'm more than willing to talk about it. I just want to say that right now we have an issue that is being made into it's a smoke and mirrors game. We have a whole lot of problems. Their solutions do not address any of those problems. We have a solution. Let me talk about the solution before I end, right? Just for, I said part of our job is imagination, right? Today we are spending only 1.5% of our GDP on education. If we are to, assuming everything is equal, if we are just to increase it by double, a little more than double, we can actually provide some form of education to everyone who applied for university just by doubling the GDP. But we have 4.5% that that is the benchmark recommendation from the Action Education 33 Framework for Action. It is also the National Education Policy Framework in Sri Lanka. In 2022, they said the state is committed to increasing the percentage of GDP spending on education to 4.5% by 2030. So if we have those funds, we can actually do something really great. There is a solution that is kind, that actually helps all people, not the wealthy, that doesn't require private organizations. So with that rather rushed presentation, thank you.